Today, being the first movie of our Christmas commentary, is about something that has nothing to do with Christmas, only very tangentially, because this movie was released only even in select countries, particularly mostly North America, which makes it qualified in my eyes, in the late half of December, which is close enough to Christmas. I'm talking about, once again, the efforts of director Paul W.S. Anderson and his wife, waifu, then at this point wife, Mila Jovovich, for another video game adaptation based on a Capcom IP. In this case, Monster Hunter, a game series we have never covered, and I don't even know what's the experience of the rest of you with it, but I just say that mine is not particularly great, but I'll describe it as the movie goes on. As such, we're also fulfilling a promise that we established in one of Deji's Silver Screen Conferences video, and brought someone who actually knows more about Monster Hunter, Jay.
No decos, no charms, bad armor. How'd you guys even make it to this urgent quest?
Even without a single feline, I know, right? Other than being connected to the Paul W. Anderson Resident Evil movies, this is also might as well, being since it's still our 10-year anniversary celebration kind of thingy. It's technically a follow-up to that because it follows some of the same, footsteps. But also, this has been basically the year where we did the most number of video game adaptations. So we might as well get close to the end of the year with another one of these, shall we?
All right, then.
And more on details as the movie goes on, might as well. Start before the Sony logo, the first of many that are, but they should be basically that. So the start before that in 3, 2, 1, click. This was released at the tail end of 2020 in a period of time in which cinemas reopened very briefly between two major strings of COVID. As such, not many people ended up seeing this movie. Lives, do you mind telling us the budget and recouping?
Boy, I can imagine not very much, but I will check now. On a budget of $60 million, it made only $44.5 million.
Yeah, I don't think it also bombed in China, which was the place where the makers of the movie believed that the movie would have sold more, because of apparently some miscommunication in the scripting made it look like at some point there is a xenophobic slur uttered in it. I don't know much about that, but I'll only trust the one.
I think when we get to the line, I'll be able to point it out essentially. But okay, I'm gonna give Capcom, well, not so much credit, but a show of understanding. Companies tend to look first and foremost at the profits than the actual quality. So Capcom probably had the idea, hey, Paul W.S. Anderson constantly made us money with those Resident Evil films, never mind the fact that they ended it at the final chapter, which kind of suggests that they saw the writing on the wall. But regardless, the Resident Evil movies did consistently turn in a profit.
It's impossible. Behind the perception of our senses, new words are hidden, of which we are totally unaware. So yeah, let's start the new world. So let's start by completely shitting all over the premise. And keep in mind, before World, this I know, the Monster Hunter series was not particularly famous for having important major stories. Sure, they were present in some capacity, like you, the hunter, being part of a village, and getting food and resources for them by hunting property monsters and discovering the lore of the world about the elder dragons shaping nature with their powers. But the war then changed that. But the most important thing was the tone. Despite the fact that you were fighting these giant monsters, it was treated as more of an epic adventure, something, with scope and, fun in having it. So
oh my god, is that the handler?
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be based around that. So, of course, Paul W. Anderson instead decided to treat this as a survival horror. Of course.
Of course.
I think
oh my god, Admiral, what'd they do to you?
That's Ron Perlman.
That's supposed to be Ron Perlman.
Okay. So I'll admit, I know the general premise of Monster Hunter, but I'm not really familiar with the specific lore.
I can tell you that aside from using the appearances of the titular monsters and their behavior to an extent, plus some minor elements like how characters' attires and weapons are supposed to look like, this movie really doesn't have almost anything to do with Monster Hunter.
Okay.
Well,
Gee, what
So
a
I'll give them
surprise.
this. A lot of their various things are the same. You can see the Serious Handler and the Ace Cadet, who's been given a name recently.
Mhm.
Yeah, that monster that is attacking the ship is Diablos.
Yeah, Diablos. Surprisingly not Garbaraz, I think it's called the sand whale from Free Ultimate with the one that showed up in Marvel's Capcom Infinite.
I know about
Sorry.
Rathalos and Nergigante.
There was a
Yes,
scream
really.
earlier that literally sounded like to me that they ripped off that they ripped the scream that Tobey Maguire gives in the second Spider-Man movie.
Okay.
The one where Mary Jane's about to be crushed.
In
Okay.
general, let me just preface with this. This is technically a step up compared to Resident Evil The Final Chapter. I know that it's not saying much, but keep in mind, we have the same team developing this and the same editor. And yet, I can tell you that the movie is much better on the presentation front because, again, a lot of the appearances are more like with the game. It's based on a property that doesn't have too much of a story that you can ruin, and the editing is considerably better. There are still a couple of moments where there are very quick cuts, but they're much less compared to Final Chapter. Yes,
Oh
Jay?
no, he's dead.
Sorry, I think I just saw the Diablos gore one of the hunters.
Yes,
Yeah, in one
you
of his
did.
horns.
Which is weird. Instead of having him be eaten, we see him get gutted. Oh, I guess that guy's alive. And
Also,
we have our title.
The composer of the movie, Paul Haslinger,
What?
like the one of the previous movie, the of the Resident Evil Chapter, if I recall correctly, doesn't even consider remixing Proof of a Hero, which is the leitmotif of the series.
that had
And
to
by the
be.
way,
That had to
this
be
is-
one.
this was in the trailers, and what made people already, turn away in shock and confusion.
Oh yeah.
This is an isekai story in which Mila Jovovich, our main waifu, of course, plays a lieutenant, I think, a unit commander, basically, of real-world U.S. militaries storming in a desert and getting transported isekai style into the Monster Hunter world.
And
Of
let
course.
me guess, they're gonna show the natives of that world how it's done.
By the way, you wondered why they only gored him and didn't eat him. Diablos are herbivores.
Oh. Then
There's
why
the-
was
they
Yeah,
don't
that?
actually eat meat.
Monster Hunter operates on the idea, Joe, that even herbivores monsters are ferocious as fuck, and in some cases will wouldn't team up with carnivores to kill you. Again,
Well,
weird
Asshole.
that
logic.
is it's kind of correct. Because herbivores never have to worry about scrounging or hunting their food, they become very
Violent.
well. The best term you can use is assholes.
But also, there are sometimes there are still justification by having potentially some of the elder dragons, the big honchos, being ones that influence nature to have other monsters, becoming more aggressive or, generally more territorial. It happens.
Okay, going back to what I was saying earlier. In a weird business-like sense, I can get it. The Resident Evil movies made money, so it would make sense to get back the team who did those, despite the fact that your fans hated Resident Evil, but
Even
again,
the same,
they care
even the
about
same
the money,
production
essentially.
companies, Constantine and Sony.
So, yeah, I can get why they trusted them with this. Me personally,
Oh.
I would care about both the money and the quality, so I probably would have at least set down heavier restrictions, but apparently they did not. Now, I know some would argue that, this movie mainly failed because of the pandemic. I'd argue that while the pandemic played a part, the fact that this movie was not really winning any popularity contests pretty much solidified this movie as a failure. Oh sure, Anderson has had some talks about writing a sequel, but that's all it's really been, just talk. It's been 3 years and nothing substantial to success to
It took
sequels come
4
up.
to get to the final
But
chapter.
it's not happening.
And Paul W.S. Anderson is currently doing an original story in his own.
To answer your off-screen question about Tencent, they actually have had their hands in the Monster Hunter series beforehand. They were the publishers of the now dead in the water Monster Hunter Online, an old Chinese MMO that you could play.
Hmm.
So it's not too surprising that they still had control of the IP for a bit.
Of course, they dipped their fingers into that.
It's not particularly, it's a bit foreboding because if you know anything about Tencent, you know that they tend to not necessarily be cheap and efficient, but they love to gain some control of some kind, investing a lot of monies and making very sure that you stay adherent to their norms. But that's a story for another time.
Whoa!
But
As
yeah,
for the
but again, this whole thing about having our protagonist from the real world being specifically U.S. militaries, it screams to me that if this was done instead by Michael Bay, like this screams like the Bay Formers movie, where they put a bit more emphasis on the U.S. military in a context where it doesn't really have them belonging.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a Resident Evil movie script that was rejected but got repurposed as this.
Wait, okay, I don't really see that. Don't get me wrong, Anderson is like a bad writer all around, but nothing about the script so far has screamed even his Resident Evil style. Like, it's a lot more supernatural for starters.
Sorry, Shira, I forgot about this.
Okay, I'll say this.
It's okay.
I don't...
So this must be Wyverian script. What's it doing out here? I have no clue.
Anyway,
88 miles per hour! Seriously, we're basically doing that.
Well, crud. Dead.
Like I said, there are still some moments with the quick editing. Like I said, the editor is still the same from Final Chapter.
Never mind. They're in
I
the
was gonna say
water.
The one that no one came to see it. They weren't going to brave a pandemic just to see a movie that would kill them with the flashing.
Oh wait, they're not in the water. They're in the
They're
storm.
in slow-mo because they're literally transitioning between worlds. That's how it works,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. These effects look terrible. Like, yeah, they're serviceable, but I mean, even from the start of the ship, the
Thank you.
CGI overtones were just way too much. And Jesus, with the slow motion. So
Let me guess. Everyone is dead except for Alan. I mean,
Okay. To be fair, I can say this. While yes, the focus of the movie will be centered mostly squarely around Mila Jovovich's character. She's considerably toned down in terms of Mary Sue's from the Resident Evil movies.
I love how
at the very least there is a minimal sense of improvement from them.
I love how we instinctively called her Alice because that is pretty much what she is
Let me check
synonymous
properly
with.
what's her name.
that's the joke.
But
Natalie Artemis, a U.S. Army Ranger.
but
Maybe by the
yeah.
end of this, we'll all love Mila Jovovich like Paul clearly wants us to.
But okay. To be fair, also, unlike, say, the Resident Evil titles, which had main characters, which Alice pretty much supplanted, as far as I know, Monster Hunter doesn't have, like, a particular titular character.
It's mostly having about recurring species of monster that are popular among the fandom. Like I said, World was the big game changer because it started to be more heavy with its plot by introducing characters with more recognizable features and potentially some names. But to be fair, if I recall correctly, this movie was in production for a very long time, which means even before World was released. Although, as I hinted previously in the final chapter, in order to do some cross-promotion, Mila Jovovich had her character showing up in Iceborne, if I recall correctly, as a DLC or a free update.
My main point is that, unlike Resident Evil, at least in this time, we won't run the risk of Mila Jovovich pretty much usurping other main characters from the series. So that's one plus already. That being said, though, as for why this movie was a failure, whereas the Resident Evil movies were a success, I do get the feeling part of this may have been the after effects of, the Resident Evil franchise. Like, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Sometimes the failings of a franchise aren't shown until after the success is run through. Like, case in point, say Sonic 06 was a big financial success, but the games after would suffer due to how crappy it was, essentially. I do wonder if it's a case where people really just woke up to the fact that, Paul W.S. Anderson's Resident Evil movies really sucked. Let's not support any more of his video game affairs.
Like I said, Joe, it was also mostly because the movie was banking of selling a lot in China. Remember, this was still the time where, all the movies were like, let's make this with the Chinese market in mind because it's going to sell a lot of hotcakes. And when it did not do that, that's was a big catalyst.
Oh, did they censor off the black character from the cover like people usually do when marketing stuff to China?
I don't know about that. I can tell you that the other hunter, which is clearly not Caucasian, is prominently featured in every country's poster, if I recall correctly. So I don't know about that.
Okay, I'll give them credit. I don't think any of these other actors are really big names, so I guess they're giving new people
Let me check just to
chance.
be sure. Okay, no.
Monster
no.
that doesn't leave a mark.
Also,
That means it did it while it was flying.
Also, who left the
Backups?
Mad Max vehicles off in the background there?
I mean, let me also check where they filmed it. Okay, this movie by the way, has been in development since 2012.
That woman does look a bit like Halle Berry.
It was announced at the Tokyo Game Show 2016. Yeah, I think I remember that. Filming. Where are you? There we go. Well, filming in Cape Town in South Africa, of course, because it's cheaper there.
Oh wow, Dwibs. The filming wrapped up on December 19th.
Lovely.
Is this supposed to be a cadence?
Sure.
A cadence is a song that you would sing in the middle of marching.
Alright, so a movie that takes place almost entirely in the desert. We're off to a good start already.
I mean,
no, there are other lands. They should be capable of finding something else.
The problem, okay, Jay, I don't know how much experience you have with the Resident Evil movies, but returning from those is one of the big problems we encountered, that the movie takes place for most of it in one location and will only shift towards the end of it.
So okay.
Jay,
a bow user in world. Oh, this isn't gonna go good.
No, that's the
anyway.
thing.
You were saying?
So Jay, you're mentioning that kind of song that we don't like marching, kind of like the Fortnite Battle Pass song. But also, in case you are familiar with the series and you're familiar mostly also with more goofier elements like the felines or the hunting horn users, their representation is minimal in this, to say the least. Like I said, the biggest crime that this movie has is that it takes itself way, way too damn seriously for its own good.
I'll admit,
Which is going to be a rough part for it, but that's kind of why I'm here.
I'll admit, I'm not feeling it's too overtly serious yet, but then again, we're like only 16 minutes into the venture.
It's more the case that the games, despite having a serious tone, they're essentially a big fun adventure that you're having, while this will essentially be, a struggle for survival. It's trying to imagine the idea of hunting monsters more as a necessity for, for desiring to survive rather than, just being, cruel to them for the sake of hunting the population or saving your village. Like that's mostly the problem of most of the games.
Are they really? I feel like they were trying to replicate the T-Rex from Jurassic Park scene with that.
No, actually, it's instead trying to replicate Tremors.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie. Good thing.
Get to the chopper. Anyway, I can't recognize much of his other actors. T.I. Harris, Diego Boneta, Megan Good, Josh Hellman.
Megan Good.
The other hunter, the gentleman with the bow and arrow, is played by Tony Jaa, Tatchkakorn Yirum. Okay. A Thai
Oh,
actor.
Megan Good. She was in Shazam. She plays the superhero version of Darla.
Okay, our hunter was a stand double in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, so there is that.
I guess.
Also, he was in Expendables 4.
Oh.
Poor bastard. But he's still making movies. He's having upcoming movies getting there, so hopefully his career will not be over.
From what I can gather, a lot of these cast are people who have been in movies here and there and are, you know, let's call them
Aside from
maybe...
Mila Jovovich, the major person that the casual moviegoer audience will recognize is Ron Perlman,
Pretty
and he will
much.
show up only later.
Everyone else, I'd say, is... I'll be generous and say
I would also say
B-tier.
this, to be generous, the CGI of the actual monsters is fine. They actually managed to replicate the design well enough, instead of, doing what the Resident Evil movies did and being all over the place.
I find it weird that the ship CGI looked terrible, but the monster CGI they got well. I mean, I guess to be fair, if they were gonna prioritize anything, get the monsters looking good.
And yeah, this bit was also in the trailers, the idea that they're trying to use properly using their guns on the Diabolos, but it's not working.
Yeah, respect to the series, there is no modern gun on the planet that couldn't shred through a Diablos like this.
Okay,
The fact that they're failing is just movie magic here.
Okay, I guess... Actually, yeah, he has a point. We have some pretty tricked-out weaponry in the U.S. military.
It also depends on the circumstances. Some of the monsters really have their skin or scales to be sometimes made by literal stone, so it would be needed high-grade explosive to actually put a dent in them.
I will give them credit. It's not like they're just having the foreigners suddenly show the natives how it's done, so... I guess that's...
We'll see. Again, they're actually going somewhere with this. So, again, for all this, I need to give at least a minimum of what this movie can get.
Yeah, I guess to give it credit, aside from some of the terrible camera work and bad CGI, I'm not hating this so far.
Grenade alert.
Best to go out in heroics.
Now, hopefully that will do something.
God. You might as well have just hit it with a blast hammer. Good damage, but of course he's not dead yet.
So yeah, most of the first major half of the movie will basically be our characters trying to survive in this particular rocky area, with having the Diabolos always talking on them. But to be fair, in case you're wondering about variety, it will not be the only creature they will meet soon enough.
I'll give him credit, it's a typical 3-act structure. The first act is the hero's... Wait, hold on. So that arrow did more? I guess he knows what he's doing.
Because it was an explosive arrow. The idea of technology for the Monster Hunter universe is a bit weird, because more recently they had something similar to a gun, but otherwise what you get to have is what this movie showcased, an arrow with a dynamite candlestick attached to it.
That actually makes me wonder, did this movie... Okay, so we know that the Paul W.S. Anderson movies, before they absolutely started to suck, had some effect on the Resident Evil series with it getting more actionized. Did this movie have any effect on its respective series?
At least not so far.
So,
yes,
yeah.
Jay?
It seems that they were doing something, because they did manage to break the Diablos' horn. That's a part break.
I can't tell if that was from theirs or from the explosive arrow.
No, the horn broke when the Diablos was trying to squeeze between rocks. So they technically did nothing.
I guess that's to show that the horn was weakened due to either the grenades or the blast from the arrow. But okay, like I said, I'll give him credit. It's not a bad plot structure. First act is dealt with the heroes pretty much struggling. Second act is them learning, and then the third act is them finally having mastered it. At least that's what I assume will be the case.
I will also say this, at the very least, aside from a minor remark at the beginning, which was more tongue-in-cheek than anything, ouch, the unit is actually showcases to have respect for the commander, instead of saying, "Oh, she's a woman, she cannot lead us."
Narcilla.
Yeah.
What?
Why
That's
did you do
wrong?
nothing to the Black
I
Diablos
probably
to
should have put
still it was effective?
I would probably should put a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie, but if you have arachnophobia, yeah, you're not gonna enjoy this movie.
Oh, that thing's supposed to be a spider. I thought it
You
was
don't
more.
worry, Jova. We will see it more soon enough.
I thought it was supposed to be more like a scorpion. Well, crud.
It's doing the same thing of Shallow in the Lord of the Rings movie.
Oh,
it's a spider
yeah.
with a stinger tail.
Okay, now I see it. Oh, that said, I mean, kudos to Paul. He actually let his waifu not be the main hero of that scene. She actually got knocked down.
Like he said, it seems there's a genuine trying in this case to, balance out her action. She's still gonna be able to do badass things. Don't worry about that. But it feels more believable here rather than just kill stealing from everyone.
Like I stated before, the problem was never her doing badass stuff. Like, she did badass stuff in the
Frankly,
first
this is
Resident
not
Evil
as
movie.
disturbing to me as that scene in Peter Jackson's King Kong, but I can imagine it can get disturbing to a lot of people. Also, I hate also trying to mention this. These are supposed to be a evening, almost night shot, but you can tell they're day to night and they're cheap as fuck.
Honestly, I thought that the sun was coming up in one of those scenes, so I'm guessing you guys aren't particularly a fan of these kinds of monsters.
Oh, Jay, I don't particularly mind about these. Ow. Jay?
No, I'm perfectly fine with them. It's just a
Again-
matter of the way that her eye went out when he shot.
Sadly, the major problem is that sadly there's not too much variety in this movie, Jova. We only have a handful, between 5 and 10 total in terms of the different kind of monsters.
They gotta include Rathalos, like,
Yeah, that's basically the poster boy, so of course he's gonna be part of the equation. Don't worry about that.
So it's relatively debatable, but primarily the goal in every Monster Hunter is usually to maintain the ecosystem, to make sure that nothing goes and dominates the other while we're here. With some regards, we do have a habit of, taking respect to the monster in our fights. Yeah, we're slaying them in a lot of cases, but we'll take their body, take their parts, and always use everything. We leave nothing behind. I'm getting a bad feeling that these things are going to be mutilated by the remaining army members.
See. The major thing about the Monster Hunter world, or Monster Hunter universe set of movies, because there's not even too much continuity between them. It's more of a case of each is a separate telling. Sometimes there is some connection, but it's more of a case of kind of like Fire Emblem Awakening, how it merged a different setting and say that we're in different places. But the idea behind it is that the Elder Dragons, with a super powerful being, shape nature around them, and the entire set of ecosystems in all of the games is a gigantic, not necessarily primitive, but quasi-primitive, bubbling, soup of primordial chaos beings that makes life, being breeded explosively all around in different shapes and sizes and colors. Being what Jay said, in order for humans to survive, they need to also balance out the ecosystem. Sure, it can come across as mindless hunting, like that game that I showcased to Pedro about Caveira's dangerous hunting. But they try to at least give a motivation to what you're doing, and to still justify the fun. But yeah, also spoiler alert. Unfortunately, Mila Jovovich's team was basically there to be basically cannon fodder. Where almost all of them are already dead, and you'll see when soon enough that she's gonna be basically the last survivor.
Like, what, will the others
considering
be,
how
infected and that, turns them into Narcella?
Some of them have been already killed, and the others are about to be picked. If they're not already dead, are about to die thanks to these monsters. Yes, Jay?
For as gung-ho America-style fighting that they're trying to make this movie, it's kind of surprising that they didn't have Narcilla use her gas bombing. She has an ability to put hunters to sleep with gaseous attacks. You'd think they utilize that to drag more of the people away.
That in the Stinger attack, which is not really the same thing.
No.
All right, flare up.
Question.
Yes,
Yes,
Shiri?
Shirai?
Like, because I might be missing something, but even if it's not a lot, like, doesn't the series have at least even a little sprinkles of whimsy here and there?
Like I said, it's not this towering tone.
No,
if that's
it's a,
Yeah, no, that's why I'm so confused because I have not seen much of this series, but it's like I feel like something's off here.
it's a fun. It's
Oh,
meant to
yeah,
be a-
no,
it's meant to be a
it's-
fun adventure. That's
Anderson is
basically it.
taking this just like he did with the Resident Evil movies, where he's taking
Yeah.
any shred of comedy or stupid fun and throwing it right out the window.
This is the same
This is
kind
going
of-
to be a dull, serious ride all the way through, and that's
This is the same mistakes that id Software did when they made Doom 3. If they took the premise of, a macho guy, slaughtering demons with a shotgun, which was taken for basically a fun ride on Mars, and reconverted it into a survival horror that is slow as molasses, and it's not really pleasing.
Are they about to pull an alien?
Well, Jova, they are a species that lay eggs.
Oh my god, they're really gonna pull an alien. The spawn will come out of his chest, won't it?
To be fair, Jova, at the very least, the black guy did not die. Again, for all his problems, Paul W.S. Anderson is still not falling into the cliches trappings that happen in previous movies of this decade and before, like the black guy dying first. That's not what happens. The movie is not super long, so there is that.
Woo for bare minimum.
Yeah.
and
Sometimes, Shiri, that's all you can get.
I will say this though, like before we suddenly started axing off all the members, the mood didn't seem too dour, but it's like suddenly wham, as soon as the spider creatures enter in the place, suddenly this becomes way darker and grittier. I mean, okay, sure, we had the guy blow himself up to save them, but yes, it's
You
Oh,
alien.
might want to
I-
get that looked at.
I did not need that.
Oh, we're in the mummy now, except
watch it,
worse.
Look away and look at that thing I sent you to while this is going on, because this is just like, wow, this is just, even I'm kind of.
Oh, it's only eye stuff that bothers me. Like general body horror is fine.
Like I said, it's a poor man's alien. Complete
I'm
with
still gonna look at what you sent me though.
but yeah,
So I'm a
no.
little confused because Nursilla doesn't have small monsters. So I think they just took Kadaki, which are smaller monster spiders, and paired it with this one instead of their mother.
Jay, I'm gonna go on a limb here and just say Paul W.S. Anderson wanted to pull an alien. As
I'm
opposed
not
to him.
surprised.
Because, look, I'm not gonna suggest that he did no research, but Paul doesn't always have the best history with keeping a game adaptation properly in line with its game stuff. Like, okay, I'll say this. If this is meant to be a reference to that other monster you referenced, that is well beyond Anderson's usual MO. Maybe if this were like Mortal Kombat Anderson, I could maybe buy it, but post-Resident Evil Anderson, I really just think he was ripping off Alien there. I mean, and to be fair, he would not be the first person. Plenty of people love to.
Honestly, I'm taking gambles here because it's clear that whatever, like, any property for a Monster Hunter that they wanted to use. Oh wait, they might just be arachnoids. Regardless, any sort of ideas and property that they wanted to use for Monster Hunter, it's getting thrown out the window.
Like, okay.
But again, that's kind of what I'm here for, to see the inconsistencies and tear them apart.
Let me just set the stage for you. There was actually a time where Anderson was regarded much more positively, like when he started off with the Mortal Kombat movie. That movie managed to accomplish the feat of impressing the creator of Mortal Kombat so much itself that he practically changed a good chunk of the lore to match up better with the movie. The first Resident Evil movie, while not exactly, a stellar, flawless masterpiece, was overall well enough received and would influence the later Resident Evil games to be more action-packed and even include the lasers. That being said, starting with the second Resident Evil movie, he became way more obsessed with Mila Jovovich, ended up supplanting characters to make her character Alice look better, and
At the very end.
then by the time of the fourth movie, it felt like he was just, oh, hey, I saw this game. So let's put stuff from this game into this. Essentially, the fourth movie is like, bits of Resident Evil 5 peppered in, shot for shot for shot.
Forever.
Oh, and my wife, I guess.
And by the time of the last movie, also his daughter.
Oh god, by the time of the last movie, he pretty much killed off most of the main cast from the games.
I'm still
Any-
genuinely surprised that Claire survived.
And mind you, that was in like a plot twist that made no sense whatsoever. Oh hey, you guys are still there.
Well, they're still lurking in the shadows, so yeah, Mila is trapped between two fires. On one hand, the Diabolos, on the other, spiders.
What's the character's actual name? I know we make the
Artemis,
joke. Okay.
Natalie Artemis.
Do you
be
love
fair,
Mila yet? Do you?
It does a bit the whole also McCool name, but to be fair, I can't believe this. It's much more believable than and still more acceptable than doing the whole Alice in Wonderland parodies. Yes, movie I saw Lost back in the mid 2000 when he did this.
Oh, I see. She's trying to scald the wound.
Cauterize, yes.
Yeah, cauterize it with gunpowder.
Also, Rambo did this in Rambo 3 to an extent, but to be fair, again,
Gunpowder doesn't work that way.
what, Jay? Won't you know it spontaneously combusts like that?
So
It's Hollywood gunpowder.
Hollywood gunpowder.
I wouldn't even mind if she was the last man from her platoon standing, but really? Did you have to get rid of most of the others that quickly?
Quickly, yes.
I
At
don't
this
know
point,
what
might as
side
well-
of me is matter?
Again.
The side of the military cadet or the Monster Hunter fan right now?
Again,
Both.
here's the thing. You want, premise-wise, you need to have a character who doesn't know much about the world, okay, but that has to be alone and not with much of a team and has to learn from the actual Monster Hunter. Okay, I get that, because that's what the thought process that they're having. They're having someone from the real world being catapulted here and have that person being taught by the actual hunters. That's not a bad thought process if you really get down to it. But again, these execution, why did they have to be military? Because that way Mila will be able to learn quickly. You can just make a normal hunter from the real world, Those are still a thing,
Let me
people
guess.
like Lara Croft, like that.
Let me guess. There's a plot twist about the monsters from this world seeping into ours.
Well, the entire point is about these two worlds potentially being connected, so we'll have to see how this goes. And yeah, just like in Tremors, she tests and sees that the Diabolos is still there.
So, fun
Apparently there's
fact,
nothing better to do.
because I've been staring at this Diablos for long enough that I think I've pieced it together. Normal Diablos are aggressive creatures, but they're usually primarily territorial. However, most Diablos are male. The female variant, the Black Diablos, are the more hyper-aggressive because they're constantly in mating
So that
or
was
desiring a mate. So yeah, this thing's running rampant, probably looking for a mate.
Because she's horny.
So what you're saying is that her killing those guys was her trying to get some.
Or
Well,
to
she
vent
probably-
on sexual frustration.
That's more the idea.
That's what I was gonna go with. Yeah.
I know this one. Mila is gonna be kidnapped by Jawas.
So
that,
this. Go ahead, you first.
that would make me wonder if that was Paul W.S. Anderson's intent of humor, if he actually gave them much a crap about the lore.
I can't believe maybe Tencent was a consultant in terms of a monster designing which one to choose, and Paul was like, okay, I will put those. But it's mentioned in the development that Paul seems to be genuinely knowledgeable about the series because he started playing those in 2008 before it was cool, because Monster Hunter started the series on the PS2, mind you, and only started gaining traction on the 3DS for the more, when it became more popular, because until that point it was considered relatively niche. If anything, again, this series is what allowed Capcom to regain a lot of money in the early 2010 when everyone was basically not giving him an ounce of trust, even when good games like Dragon's Dogma showed up. Also, on that note, my experience with Monster Hunter was not particularly pretty. I don't know what kind of metric do you know, Dej, about the entire franchise, but I started by playing the Freedom Unite games on the PSP. That's
Okay, I think you mean Jay.
Sorry,
You said
Jay.
Yeah, you said Dedge. But I do know what you.
The point is that Freedom Unite broke my PSP's analog stick.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm not terribly surprised.
This is also
I
why
also started.
when the 3DS games arrived, I decided to not even try
What
because I
are
knew I would
you-
have broken that. Yes, sir?
Sorry, I just came to the realization that a hunter's attacking a person.
Because we're not trusting each other. They're also adding a bit of a language barrier. The idea that the natives of this world do not speak fluent English, as such, we will have.
So
them
I get
talking to
earlier
each
that he
other.
was attacked by them, but a lot of hunters are genuinely accommodating and mild-mannered. They know how aggressive and dangerous everything is out here. So they're usually careful to, help people, even if they get attacked a little bit first.
Okay,
Like you
to
said-
This is stupid in every regard.
Okay, if I'm to be fair, again, granted, I'm coming from this as somebody who is, relatively new to this universe, and to be fair, as an adaptation, maybe they're going for the idea that this hunter is skeptical. Like, sure, he plays at threatening her, but it's not like he would actually kill her. He's just trying to get her to essentially drop the knife so he can restrain her, so...
Or maybe Paul W.S. just wanted to have a bunch of acrobatic action scenes because the guy is a genuine good, is good in acrobatics and was a stunt double for Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Again, props to the restraint, though. He actually let the guy defeat his wife in combat.
Like I said, it seems that there's some genuine, answering the whole, complaints that people had about Mila Jovovich's role, which leads me to the writing. It was also written by Paul W.S. Anderson, squarely on him this time around, apparently. So this is still, for all intents and purposes, mostly his child.
Alright, so how do
There
we...
still isn't even in the Wildspire Wastes.
Ow. Yes.
Okay, well, now
yes,
you're just being a dick.
So how do we escape these spider creatures for good, essentially?
That's a good question. The ideal scenario,
hide, I guess?
but that's mean water and food will not last forever, Dweebs. The idea is that there needs to be find a way to defeat the Diablos and then try to cross the desert.
So the Diablos is pretty much our first boss fight.
Mm-hmm. The better obstacle to remove because the spiders are just too many.
Yeah. The good news is that it seems like they're restricted to this place since they don't like the sunlight.
Mm-hmm. God damn it.
Persistent
And yeah,
little buggers.
from one of the places before, you notice that this is also a ship graveyard, meaning that this is a place that, a lot of hunters met their end.
So I'm guessing this is the guy who got left behind at the start of the
Yes,
movie.
Mm-hmm. Also, in case you're wondering, this is not how it works. Normally, healing items are your standard potions in Monster Hunter. They come in also in all shapes and sizes, but they're not this creamy ointment.
So this
Well, there
guy's...
are some powders as well. I guess they're trying to play off that kind of idea.
So Tony Jaa's character's name is The Hunter. Ron
Yeah.
Perlman's character is called The Admiral.
Like
Why?
I said,
Yeah.
Jov, despite the word introducing key figures with more important characters, a lot of them are referred by their job, like the handler.
Is he praying?
Yeah, that's the thing. Religion in Monster Hunter universe is not really a thing. The closest you get are the elder dragons, which have power level that could pass them off as deities, but not to the point of having the hunters praying to deities of their own. Rise and shine, Mila.
Okay, so we're nearly halfway through the movie.
And not much has happened, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so far, Miller's army buddies are dead. She's been sucked into this world. She has to survive.
Like I said, this has the same problems of some of the later Resident Evil movies. They're just focused squarely on one or two locations, and the pace comes to a glacial halt because of that.
Well, but Webs, there's something to make up for that. You get to once again behold the majesty of Mila Jovovich.
While
There's
she's
that.
bleeding, how sexy! Like, you
Well,
know,
that might be
I guess-
someone's.
I
Jonah,
guess
that might be
someone-
someone's kink.
Yeah, that might be someone's kink. Let's not kink shame. Come on.
it's called fan service for a reason, but I digress. Anyway, in regards to the overall reception of the movie, it got praised for its action sequence, visual effects, and musical score, but major criticism for its direction and editing. I guess the action sequences, for the most part,
Like
are
I said,
fine.
as you have noticed, there are still a couple of scenes where the editing gets quick, fast. But the editor seems to have learned a better job from
Oh, hello.
compared to Final Chapter. Yes, Jay?
Ow.
I just noticed the bone greatsword right over there.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, in terms of some of the designs are actually a lot of the designs actually are straight lifted from the game, particularly again armor and weapons. So they did a better job than in Resident Evil in terms of maintaining the iconography of the franchise. It's just that the tone is the biggest problem of these.
So let's see about the development of this movie. Believe it or not, the story goes back to as early as 2012, when
Because,
Anderson was
yeah,
first rumored to direct a film adaptation of the Monster Hunter franchise. He stated he had discovered the Monster Hunter series on travels to Japan around 2008 and had become a fan of the series and considered a film adaptation as a passion project. Well,
Right.
Again, writer and director, so yeah, and also one of the producer. I can believe that.
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
yeah,
press X the dot
I-
still.
Again, more of a case of misguided intentions, Pedro, more than anything.
yeah, pretty much. Like, you can be passionate about something and still absolutely screw it up still.
Zack
No, that I
Snyder.
get. No, that I get. It's just that this doesn't even resemble Monster Hunter. Like, so.
I mean, from what
This
Tia was...
resembles more Monster Hunter than the Resident Evil movies did to the game.
Well, whoop-de fucking do.
Well, okay.
You asked for something.
Oh, okay, to be fair, as Tio and Jay have pointed out, it's not a particularly good movie, but it does have its resemblances to Monster Hunter, in at least a
Compared to
sense that...
late Resident Evil movies, this one actually tries to some degree.
Like, okay, I'll say this. Unlike the Resident Evil movies past the first one, I can buy that a fan may have made these, at least. Again, that doesn't mean it's good. And look, we've seen that even fans of media can make bad adaptations of stuff.
So now you want to use diplomacy, Artemis. Of course, you were so eager to destroy these guys' idols beforehand. Fucking maniacally, you fucking American. And yeah, so of course we do the whole convenience.
How is that not fucking melted out here?
With a chocolate bar.
Wait, how long has she had that chocolate bar?
And like Jay mentioned, why isn't it not melted yet?
And let's see.
Don't you see, guys? Is American chocolate known for not melting as quickly as British?
I can't
No,
believe that.
no, it's bad.
Maybe we put enough additives in there. I can't believe that.
Room temperature has a chance to melt it.
Okay, so originally the script had...
Can you believe this? Product placement in a Monster Hunter movie.
Tio, life finds a
can.
way.
It's a Sony movie, remember?
Wait, Tio.
I almost wonder if at some point some of a business suite meeting did ask for having a scene shot in Times Square, which wouldn't have been possible.
Wait, don't you see, guys? This is the reason why it's an isekai, so that we could put in product placement.
I can believe that too. Yes.
Okay, so anyway, at an earlier stage of the script, the concept would have been based on a young adult character from the real world called Lucas, who is being sought as the hero to drive back the monsters from the real world to the fantasy one. In this one, the script would have explained why certain legends in the real world seem to align with monsters from the fantasy world. So originally, Mila Jovovich
Basically
wasn't
doing
supposed to be the main star.
The plot of Regiment was supposed to be more similar to what we got in Reign of Fire. basically.
That being said, as the script developed over the intervening years, Anderson moved away from the young adult concept as the genre had become overused in Hollywood, and instead he developed a script based on the premises set by Avatar and Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's 2009 Avatar, by the way. Anderson
James
said that the
Cameron.
film's storyline was primarily based on a crossover event in the game Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker with Monster Hunter Freedom Unite in 2010,
God.
in
That
which a
was
military
supposed to be just
squad
an
briefly
Easter
faced
egg,
monsters
Paul.
from the Monster Hunter series.
Paul.
And get this,
Oh.
get this, with Mila Jovovich's Artemis and Tony Jaa's Hunter respectively replacing the video game roles of the characters Big Boss and Trenya, stating that, I thought
I
this
guess
was
I
great
should be-
imagery to juxtapose a man with a machine gun, Snake, against the creatures of Monster Hunter. So, in a sense, Metal Gear Solid ties into this.
I guess I should be grateful that that Paul is not making the Metal Gear Solid movie at least.
You know, I was going originally to make a joke around this point about jokingly say to Pedro that I wanted to have an Inokuni movie adaptation that instead played up the whole kid transporting to a different world with monsters to be more gritty and, horror based. But considering the games themselves established the idea of an infinite possibilities of different parallel universe, there is probably a good chance to have a story with that concept of being good anyway.
So you're
Although
telling
that
me...
wouldn't really
Think of
match.
something else.
That wouldn't really match. Okay, outside of I guess if they make it more Princess Mononoke-ish, it would be hard to have that fit the Ghibli aesthetic.
Let
though.
me put it this way, Pedro. I guess it would be in a sense the equivalent of what Shadow Side is to the normal yokai
No,
world.
that I get. I mean, like aside from Princess Mononoke, I guess they would have to make it more Princess Mononoke-ish. That's like the one Ghibli
They
movie
kill a
that I
bunch
can
of
think of
I
that would
have-
fit that.
I have heard, because I haven't seen by the time recording this, I have heard that the boy and the heron has some very sometimes fucked up imagery.
It does, but I will argue but in terms of tone, Mononoke is more mature.
Okay.
So
then.
let me see if I've got this straight. This movie, while an adaptation of Monster Hunter, is also sort of a semi-adaptation off of an event from Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, wherein our two main characters are stand-in for Flippin' Big Boss and Trenya. Okay, sure, why not? I've heard of crazier ways for a movie to be made. On that note, Pedro, is there still a way to replay that event for our eventual commentary?
I think so. If I remember correctly, the event is on the disc itself. I don't think there's a way.
I think what Joe was asking, was it included in the HD collections?
Oh yes, it was. Yes.
Cool, yeah. If I recall correctly, that's the event where we got, like, Metal Gear Rex as an actual T-Rex.
No, Peace Walker has online multiplayer, but that's it. The actual content itself is on the disc, and it's not tied to any kind of time limit or
In
some
case
shit
you're
like
wondering why that happened in the first place, that was because the before mentioned Monster Hunter Freedom Unite was also on the PSP, so of course Konami and Capcom decided to do some cross promotion between them, as it was custom already at the time.
How did they get it so that just one of these things came after them and not, the whole horde?
I don't know. I know also that this day-to-night shot sucks once again.
Yes, it does. But hey, good. Now we have poison from the Nursilla, I believe it's called.
And also a body part. Again, this is important because it starts
Oh,
slowly,
bear the rest.
trying to resemble the games where you lead, like Jay said, you don't waste away anything. The skin, the innards of a monster, everything is useful in some kind of fashion, and you really craft weapons and armors from them.
Which, I guess, to their credit, that's what they're doing here. Like, don't get me wrong.
Also, it's big part of the charm also of the series, the idea that your hunter can look anything and you get to literally wear around the thing you slaughter,
So, how intricate are the stories of Monster Hunter usually?
Like you said before, Joe,
They're
until
very
Word,
loose.
Not that much. And Word, like you said, Word started revolutionizing things, but even then, the stories that they have are, Word is relatively simple. You go around with the handler, sampling monsters and sampling the ecosystem. Eventually, you found out that the problem is caused by either an infection or an elder dragon causing that, and you need to actually slaughter that specifically, in order to restore a bit more balance to that.
I will.
Usually, it's kind of like that.
I will give
It's
them
a little fun. You first.
I will give the movie credit. When the camera work isn't busy being god-awful, a lot of the action scenes do actually look good. Uh-oh.
Also, The Wonders of Velcro reminds me of that awful episode of Star Trek Enterprise where T'Pol travels through time and patents Velcro.
It's wild, is what this is. Just staring at all of this because they treat them
Wait,
like
that actually
so far
happened?
everybody, military, hunter, or Wyverian, everyone around here is just acting like a goddamn savage, which
but
is
wait.
just ridiculous on both accounts.
Yeah.
Also, wait,
yes,
yeah,
please,
that
that happened.
Oh, because I thought the worst episode of that series was considered like that one where they're stuck in sick, whatever.
Oh, it's not technically the worst episode, but one of it I remember the most. Star Trek is chock full of bad episodes like that.
I will say this. While it's nice that Mila Jovovich's character isn't just bodying everything, I think I am ready to move on at this point from this island, especially if there's supposed
Like
to
you
be
said,
some
Jova,
bigger plot going on.
Same problem of the later Resident Evil movies. The pace becomes extremely slow moving on. And as a consequence, the last third of the movie instead will have to rush enormously to get to the point. And I honestly, after watching all of these movies, I genuinely can't believe that this is a Paul problem. Again, I used to like his movies.
Oh, well, that's the thing. Too.
Oh,
Okay, aside from the
Rathalos
first
name
Mortal Kombat
drop.
movie, what other good movies has he done?
I already said Event Horizon for me.
Oh yeah, okay, Rise. Okay, fine.
Okay,
that's the thing. Okay, I don't think he's made anything good past the 90s. Did he?
Let me check again just to be sure I might have forgot something.
I've already given my notes on why I do not like Event Horizon, and that movie
Okay,
is
he did the first Alien vs Predator. I
Okay.
enjoyed that for the most part anyway. Also, the Death Race 2008 reboot with Jason Statham, which is the most enjoyable out of all of them.
I will say this. Sorry.
He did the 2011 The Three Musketeer movies, but
Oh,
I
I
don't
like that
think I
one.
saw that one.
Shoot, I actually like that movie. I will say this, though. I feel like Event Horizon is a fitting name because that movie definitely feels like the branching point of his career. That's not to say that, he never did a good movie after that, but it feels like Event Horizon was... I feel like Event Horizon was definitely the bit where he was starting to really make crap here and there.
But which is interesting, Jova, because that was only his third movie.
Well, like I said, butterfly effect. Again, and like I said, it's not like everything he made after that was inevitable crap. But it's just that, the bad far outweighs the good he's released since then.
Yeah, wrist crossbow. Sure, let's go with that.
It's a slinger. This is actually a thing that they have in World.
Yeah, it's effective function also was a grappling hook too.
Again, I guess to give
but-
this movie another credit is again, it works with Mila Jovovich's character in the lead since, again, the game's never particularly had a named character, so this could just as well
Also,
be considered
this
like
is
somebody
this
loading
is a
up
good
a...
This is a good excuse to actually introduce the game mechanics. Mila is literally choosing the weapons of her choice, which is something that you do as a hunter throughout the game. Do you prefer one style or another? So there is-
Blade.
And compared to the Resident Evil The Final Chapter, this is not even a case where the opposite happens, where Mila is completely defenseless and can't do shit. This is a case where she starts already with some baggage under her experience. She has to adapt to this, but when she does, she manages to keep up with the others without supplanting them.
Mm-hmm. So again,
It took how many movies to actually reach this point?
I'll admit, I'm kind of sad that this is the movie of his that finally failed. Don't get me wrong. I hesitate to call it good, but this definitely feels like he finally took to note the critiques he was getting with the Resident Evil film series and was trying to improve. Oh, by the way, as for why this movie had controversy with the Chinese, well, okay, the character Axe, played by Jin Ah-young?
Mm-hmm.
Well, apparently at some point his character jokingly asks, "Look at my knees," and to the question, "What kind of knees are these?" he replies, "Chinese." Yeah, the Chinese viewers
Ugh.
thought that was a racist playground chant overall.
It's very stupid. I
Oh,
will say
okay.
that.
Basically, Chinese viewers interpreted this as a
Jesus.
reference to the racist playground chant, Chinese, Japanese, dirtiness, and therefore as an insult to Chinese people. I don't know if that was the intent, but the
Tencent
film.
produced and co-worked on this movie. Like they really did not, movie tested that or something. Was the pandemic too
They-
much of a factor for them?
They
Now,
didn't care, most likely.
okay. Tencent had reportedly prepared modified versions of the film omitting the line, but even those showings were pulled as a result of
Again,
this.
that was the catalyst that made the movie bomb in China. I can't believe that if it was released, it would have managed to make a profit, even as minimal as it might have been.
Now, Constantine Film apologized for the dialogue and stated that they will remove the dialogue from the film before it is re-released. Jin said that for his character, the line was to proudly proclaim he is a Chinese soldier, not just his knees, but his arms, his head, his heart. Anderson stated that it was never our intention to send a message of discrimination or disrespect to anyone.
Shit.
To the contrary, at its heart, our movie is about unity, and that line had been removed from all international versions of the film prior to their releases. So, if we missed the line, it might be because it's not even in
It's
this
not
cut.
there anyway.
I
Alright,
mean,
this is one of the movements that I mentioned. Yeah,
Why in the fucking eye?
it's a weak spot. Fair enough.
I guess.
and I
Again,
guess
like
that
I
he'll be
mentioned in another
poisoned.
place, even the fucking Kingdom Hearts manga pointed out about the eyes being a good weak spot to hit.
I
Again,
guess-
Shiramano is just bizarre in his writing because during that sequence, Sora refers to a quote from a Japanese pugilist, something that he should not know, but whatever.
I suppose the idea is like, well, most of its hide is thick as armor, so the eye is like one of the few soft points. Like,
The thing is that Jova, in the games, it doesn't really work like that. You just the monsters do have weaker parts that you can attack, but the eyes are not particularly factor into that unless they are a big part of the body, which is not really that much of a thing.
Admittedly, I'm guessing the idea is for this. Wait. No, wait. That actually.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like I said, the human weapons do manage to do something minimal if you use effectively, but they're not as effective as hunter weapons. So to give it credit, again, the Americans are not portrayed as the one who saves the day from these poor people who don't know anything.
Well, that's one decent thing, I guess.
I will say this: they have the movie has attempted to gain some small brownie points. Artemis using demon mode and like being afraid by it because it's a power-up ability that you're not aware of. That's cute. Right after he shoots poor Diablos' eye, and I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck?
There's also the fact that, as we noted, unfortunately, we had already one minor case of, Mila Jovovicing by her literally kill stealing this time around by having the finishing the job that the hunter started. But to be fair, this time around is more believable than Jill Valentine failing horribly and Mila swooping in to save the day out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Diablos dead, we can actually start to cross the desert.
I know we got a name drop of Rathalos earlier, so I'm guessing
Be
he's...
patient, Jova.
It's foreshadowing, yeah.
Yeah, I know. So, that being said, I guess the main idea of the plot is that something's going wrong that's causing these crossings over into the world. Like, that's the problem.
Again, it's the thing, the object that is being spotted from the beginning on both sides, that the tower.
Shoot, I'll give the Resident Evil movies credit. I at least got a sense of a goal we had throughout the whole movie.
That's the thing,
and
Joe,
I guess
those movies it shifted constantly. Alaska was supposed to be the safe place, but then it was retconned to be a trap from Umbrella to say that it was instead to lure into a ship facility that was the last major thing that happened. But then Jill showed up with helicopters and there was a facility in Alaska and said that then Washington DC was the last bastion, and then that did not happen and we were going to return to the hype. It was bouncing all over the place and at no point he gave a consistent way of a goal anyway.
I guess
the goal here is simply to not be eaten alive, which is a pretty okay goal.
And also to
appear, Jova, I can't believe, again, going to what I just said, I can easily believe that if a sequel is made, that tower is going to be insignificant as soon as it shows up.
What tower?
Well, the one we shot from the beginning. You'll see more of that later.
Honestly, yeah, I wonder if they'll even really properly explain. This is another problem of Anderson's in that regard. I feel like even he loses focus of his own scripts every now and then.
Seriously. Again, those are not as much titles, but more like figures from their base around the family that he lost. Go on, Reeves.
But speaking of Paul W.S. Anderson, have you guys seen that film Pompeii?
Not yet, but I know that he made it, and I guess I'm curious to see it at some point.
Yes, filmed in the famed Roman city of Toronto.
Actually, Pompeii was not near Rome; it was near Naples.
Thank goodness there are no other hungry monsters out in the middle of the desert.
I know what your point is, Libs, but, still more accurate geography.
Yeah, but geography doesn't make for a good joke.
The IV punctured me.
Thanks? I'm sorry, is he supposed to be mad that she did that?
I guess he still feels pain. Yeah, also, like he said, the score is another one of the weaker parts of the movie because, like he said, they don't bother to replicate any of the Monster Hunter most famous being, first of all, proof of a hero, because again, that's been the most consistent theme among all of them. Or again, to quote another moment of levity, we don't even get the moment of them, roasting the meat on the fire with the jingle that you have to time correctly to get a perfect cooking. We will get something similar to that later, so don't worry about that. We will still have some form of levity, capacity, but it will be too little too late.
Vegetation at last.
Trees, something that isn't sand, woo!
Wait, I thought we were at the Wildspire Waste, with it being the 5th. This is an entirely different locale.
Which locale is it?
I'm pretty sure this is not trying to replicate any major areas of the games.
And now we're in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh,
yeah, I know, right?
Except the dinosaurs.
I wish I was playing that game right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I wish I was there.
Bro, Monkey's Paw, you get a movie adaptation with Mila Jovovich playing Aloy.
No!
Well,
And she has the appearance that one idiot edited of her.
I mean, much as I hate to admit it,
Mila Jovovich isn't even a redhead.
What?
Right.
That's what hair dye is for, Pedro. Get the
Yeah.
orange.
I mean, I also Pedro.
Yeah. These are Absidos.
Also, I hate to say it, Mil Jovovich would actually look physically similar to Alloy.
God damn it, he's right.
Motherfucking Gypsidos.
Jova, this is disrespectful to buff women everywhere. All right, take it back.
Yes.
Also, his sword broke, as you can see.
I mean,
So
to
we're
be
gonna need
fair,
have a
Mila
new one.
Jovovich is pretty well built, Shiroi. I mean, again, look, I hate the character Alice. I won't disrespect the actress behind her. She is fine.
Oh, that's not Gypsidos. Wow, I'm failing at this.
Of course, I will not simp for her as much as Paul does.
There
Ah,
it
there
is,
we are.
But we don't get the jingle.
Shoot, even
Like,
Sonic
dun,
Frontiers...
dun, 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 dun,
I was gonna
dun,
say,
dun,
even
dun,
Sonic
dun,
Frontiers
dun,
gave
dun,
us the
dun,
Monster
dun.
Hunter jingle.
And that's the thing also. If I recall correctly, Ward and Rise did not really had it in the same capacity. They still had it, but
They
it was like a very shortened version or something.
Okay, so World's capacity is very dull and more muted on account of the different area that they're in. But Rise did have it. As a matter of fact, it even mixed between the two.
Fair
World's
enough.
variant and the originals. That's not...
Another thing that you do by hunting monsters is obviously, as you can imagine, to collect their meat and taste it for different effects. If you read the manga Delicious in Dungeon, I think that's what the English title is, it has a similar kind of concept. Each monster can give a different effect, extravagant. Some of them you probably should not eat and just sell it, but...
Hey, a moment of levity. That's nice.
Holy shit, levity.
Almost
I'm
thought
glad
that
we
was
finally
weird.
reached it, but it certainly
I
doesn't deserve
remember
it.
levity. It's that thing that,
Again,
you know...
that's the whole thing about escaping the Diabolos as the establishing act. That wouldn't even be so bad if it was just the opening act in the first third in tops of the movie. But it takes 2 thirds instead for reasons that
Yeah.
escape me.
Like, I will say this. I'm surprised this movie isn't longer. Like, I get it, Anderson style, but based off of how long it took for us to beat the Diablos, I feel like this movie would probably be better off at least being 2 hours, so we have more to flesh out the world with. Eh? Is that Raphaelos?
There he is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, there's my boy from Smash.
Specifically, okay, remind me, Jay, you're the expert. Which is the male and which the females, Rathalos and Ratarian?
Rathalos is the big red one. Rathian is the green one. Rathalos primarily use fire-based attacks and stick to flying. Rathians are poison. Well,
okay,
Rathalos
then.
also has poison, but it's secondary
Okay.
versus
Okay.
There's Rob Perman.
Okay.
Admiral.
Okay. He just used a flaming sword attack. That was legit cool.
Ron Perman, you just have to give it to them. Also, it's kind of ironic. Mila Jovovich played the antagonist in the Hellboy 2019 movie, the one that was supposed to have Ron Perman returning, but then was completely retooled. Thanks, Mike Mignola.
I usually don't. I usually keep the barrier between actors and characters separate for one another, but oh, the handler. Perhaps another actor should have played the Admiral.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm guessing...
Yeah, because we wanted to have some minor star power, and Ron Perman was probably the most available at that.
So I'm guessing the Admiral and Handler are like titles from the games.
Yeah, also in appearance, they're similar to the roles that they have in the game. The handler is supposed to be essentially, someone who catalogs, and collects information about areas and the monsters, giving you a general idea on what you're supposed to face and what to expect.
I get it. And the hunter is, the titular monster hunter.
He's the primary adventurer who heads out to help with the ecosystem. Oh my! I cannot look at this man and call him the Admiral.
Yeah, the wig on Ron Perman is Uwe Boll level of quality.
Oh,
Holy
did you just-
shit.
Why?
Yes, Because the hunters in this movie are assholes, Jay. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm guessing as far as the actual series goes, this is more manufactured drama, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Honestly,
Okay.
this whole movie just feels really manufactured. Like,
Hi,
not
Aiden.
really got much going on.
No, it really does not. Woo! Oh, so what? Does that make her Jesus or something?
No.
Oh,
don't worry about
now
that.
I'm definitely annoyed with this whole cast here.
What, the whole her coming from the sky thing?
No, the matter of okay. So the collection here do have personalities within the game. The handler is bubbly and bright. The serious handler is more nonsensical. Ace Cadet, the one that winked at her, Aiden, happens to be the more cocky of the bratty type of people. Here they all are ganging up on this poor person, not bothering to match their personalities within the game. It's genuinely starting to kick me in the face with how disrespectful this movie can be.
Wait, hold on. So is Aiden like a legit named character from the games?
Aiden is the Ace Cadet. He is more recently named since the Netflix series that came out.
And does this movie also name him, or does he just visually look like Aiden?
Probably just visuals.
Yeah, I think this is actually supposed to be Aiden.
Yeah, you're
My,
right. Janique Schumann as Aiden is in the cast listing. Weird.
So Aiden is really just the Japanese variant of saying A-lister.
Alright, here's
Oh, hello.
Muscular Chef, the
Muscular
one
Chef.
villain you'll see in the movie. And to give credit, you'll see just in a second, they bother to replicate one-to-one the scene where in the game he actually cooks up. So let the cat cook.
All right.
Whoop. There we go. Perfect. Again, I wish the movie had more moments like that.
Oh.
Also, as we know, true patrician hunters do know that instead the ground meow chef is actually the better one.
Okay, well, at least they settled the difference relatively quickly and let her out.
I don't remember why Ron Perlman character manages to actually know how to talk in English.
Maybe
he started. Okay.
in the script.
There you go, the tower. Yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, if I recall correctly.
Oh, they're dragging the Sky Tower into this.
That's the thing, Jay. They're not even saying that an Elder Dragon is responsible for that, which normally would be the answer, but it's not.
The Sky Corridor is in this movie. This location has just kind of condensed every Monster Hunter biome into one. What the fuck is going on?
Okay.
Are you okay, Jay?
Well, to be fair, Dweebs, I can understand.
I will say, let's wait and see this thing fully out to see if maybe they tie the deity into this, like what you said about. Since we do still have at least a half an hour left of movie.
Oh, you will see, Jova.
I will say this, though. Despite the movie not being that long, it still feels bleeding long.
No, like I said, the problem is the pacing. Like I said, if we had the only at tops, mind you, because it could have been shortened even more, only the first third being focused on Mila Jovovich, just alone, remove her platoon, and let her be hype. Fuck you too. Let her be, the one survivor and escape the Diablos with the Hunter. These being the 1/3 of the game, potentially, and then moving on from there, I can tell that probably the movie would be a bit better than that. Ew. Felines are not assholes like that. Fuck off. Especially
Well, they can be a little bit mischievous.
the ones that collaborate with humans, Jay. That's what I mean.
So, felines are the natural race. Palicos are your allies.
Hmm. The point is that the muscular chef of the ship was supposed to be a palico.
Yes, he's the Admiral's Palico.
And yet he
They've
still did
technically
the stupid
retired and
shit
he's
of-
gone to cooking.
And yet he still did do the shit of throwing a furball in the beer. Because it's fun.
Also,
No, you might have missed it. He didn't throw a furball into it. He drank from his mug, and he's a cat. So one begets another.
okay, that's fine.
Hi.
Heh, cheeky.
Like I said, the Grand Meow Chef is better anyway.
One of those soldiers is legit cosplaying as Toph Bayfong. What the heck?
Are you talking about the serious handler?
The one with the hairband. She legit looks like she's cosplaying as Toph Bayfong.
Also, it's funny because the world version of the handler, the one that was used in our marketing, she wasn't particularly liked by the fandom, and by the time of Iceborne, she's kind of out of commission.
It's a mix between the two, and she's not necessarily out of commission so much as she's injured and returns at the near end of the DLC.
Basically, it was a cheeky excuse for the developers to say, "Sure, we'll give you another character, but we're not outright killing this one."
I was actually about to make a comment that, oh, well, at least the
Oh my
movie
God.
looks like a little more interesting now visually, but then the lightning immediately comes and ruins my
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my god, she does.
Fuck you, movie.
Thankfully, it will not be the entirety of the climax of a movie, thankfully, but some of Paul's old habits still linger.
Okay, I guess if I can give this movie credit, it does look like they got the costumes of these characters down pat.
Like I said, both armor and weapons seem to be aside from the monster design, seem to be the thing that is mostly accurate to that. So again, once again, compared to original movies, it's still technically a bit better than that, because one thing we didn't mention in the Resident Evil movies, one time occasion with Barry Burton, they did not get the weapons, the guns that the characters normally use, because each character gets to have like a signature weapon of some kind, like the Samurai Edge of Wesker, but Paul didn't do that for some reason.
I will say this, though. It does make it all the more frustrating that this movie is bad, because, again, the fact that they did get a lot of, from what I can understand, the visuals right, does make it really clear that this could have been a good movie.
I think it's best sum up with this is more disappointing because you can see this could have worked under better circumstances, while the Resident Evil movies feels almost completely unsalvageable.
Let me put it like this. This is comparable to the second Resident Evil movie, where essentially stuff went off the rails, because the first Anderson movie wisely didn't have much of the main cast in it, so most of the characters in it were original. The second movie was when they not only pretty much adapted Resident Evil 3, but did it badly. We actually had a good look for Nemesis in it, but he was pretty much made a joke when it came to fighting Mila Jovovich's character, and so on and so forth would happen with other Resident Evil movies, especially given how they would not let Jill
There
get one
it is,
over Alice.
The man himself.
Okay, that's a pretty good look.
Shame I can't see it because this flashing bit apparently goes on for a while.
You'll get your chance later, Shira.
He
don't
does
worry.
look more black than red, though.
It's mostly because we're in a thunderstorm moment. You will
Open
get shot of Arampalos
wide.
in a more open environment in a clear sky later.
Did you call him ugly? That apparently hurts his feelings.
Mhm. That's my physical appearance.
Well, yeah, it's rude.
Monster Hunter, it's so rude.
Again,
It's gonna be the tagline.
God, this score is so inappropriate. Like, who thought
Oh no,
that?
I'd argue it's appropriate. It fits
No.
how bland the movie is.
I get you're trying to make a joke, Dweebs, but it still feels so disappointing because the games do make a point to have these bombastic orchestral scores that swells up the more you're fighting the monsters and the more you're inching towards victory. If anything, it's actually one of the few indications that you're actually making progress in the fight and anything. But
that's odd. The audio just the audio is not gone, but it's been cut.
Yeah, there are some weird cuts, and instead it's replaced by this bizarre electronic score with no personality whatsoever. It's again so disappointing, and I don't understand whose idea
Chandler, what are
was
you
it.
doing out in the field? You don't fight.
Like, was that the Paul's idea that told to the composer? Was the composer chose himself or something?
It's
I don't know.
this definitely feels like a best in atmosphere.
Do you want to lose your arms? Because that's how you lose your arms. Don't shove your dual blades in the fucking mouth.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I somehow have become immersed negatively into this movie.
There's a running away from an explosion
don't worry.
scene in a Monster Hunter movie.
Look, JJ, if like bad military tactics get your goat, I would hate to see how much you would loathe the Resident Evil movies.
I've actually seen a few of them, the first two, and then promptly stopped.
You're doing yourself
You got
a favor,
yourself
Jay.
off at the right point, because the second movie is...
Alright, we're back in the desert.
Wait, really?
Indeed. Well, again, remember, the entire goal was to Artemis to return to her own world,
So she's back home, just like that?
I thought the movie had stopped playing for a second because it got so quiet. Just out of nowhere.
That's the other thing that Paul is consistent also with the other Resident Evil movies. There are scenes in which the characters do not talk and let their actions speak up for them, which I do appreciate instead of being overly expositional. So there is
fake out. It's actually just a helicopter.
So what are you gonna explain in your report, Artemis?
Wait, that's really the end though? Like we didn't even beat Raphaelos.
Well, I'll look at the length of the movie, but we still have 20 minutes left.
It's not.
Yeah, I know. That's my point, though. It's okay. Granted, I guess if you were watching this in the theater, you wouldn't have a time bar to know. So fake out incoming, but. I don't know. It just feels off. Like, why not have them actually beat Raphaelos before she gets home? Like,
for a second, I thought that was John Cena.
The climax, which I'm actually spoiled on. Just give it a second.
I thought it was John Cena for a second.
That does look like Cena.
It's not him, though.
Yeah. Monster Hunter. Da, 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 da.
Uh-oh. Alright, time for takeoff.
You did not name... Okay.
Be strong, Jay.
To be fair, this is what I'd probably... Oh, no, go on.
This movie might as well have been called I Can't Believe This Isn't Resident Evil.
again, I'm not really seeing the similarities to Resident Evil.
Uh-oh.
Oh, don't tell me. No.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Other way around.
It's now the time for the Bayformers comparison, because the rest of the climax is instead the US military versus the Rathalos.
I guess the idea is, like, they're not as prepared, so now, you know, it's going to be much tougher.
Moment, and once again, who asked for this? That's...
Paul?
I guess. But,
I mean...
Playing the Monster Hunter games, you were like, oh shucks, this is a great experience that I'm feeling, but you know what is missing? The US military-industrial complex.
Pardon me as I borrow something from CinemaSins for a second. She survives this.
Yes.
I mean, I mean, even in Bayformers, at least they let the Autobots mainly fight the Decepticons
Look,
until we got to last night.
as someone who enjoys the movie Reign of Fire, for despite how desaturated and very potentially bland it is, this attempt to replicate in that the idea of humans fighting a dragon-esque creature with their technology, and failing miserably at first, it's not really a good attempt.
Jay's reaction to all of this is probably what I'd be like if they ever made a Splatoon movie, to be honest.
Paul
Just
W.S.
absolutely
Anderson.
raging.
Imagine
Paul
Mila
W.
Jovovich gets turned into a squid, and she has to learn about the capacity of the Octolings and the
Oh my god, no. Keep her away from me.
Ahem. The role of Pearl will be played by Mila Jovovich.
No, she
No!
has to be Jova, she needs to
No.
be the original character, do not steal. No.
Yeah,
what
the orange.
She
the
needs
orange
to be the
inkling.
one somehow surviving human despite everyone
Agent.
being a victim of weathering with you.
Shiroi, can you remind me the name of the old squid, the captain guy that's supposed to be...
Cuttlefish.
Craig Cuttlefish, yeah.
Okay, what racist Hollywood actor we can get to play him? Mel Gibson,
Oh
maybe?
my god.
What the hell?
I'm not sure about racist, but for some reason I thought Danny DeVito.
The thing is that Jova in Universe Cuttlefish is not particularly generous towards Octolings.
Who plays
He's
the
the
70s
kind of
Bond?
uncle you get at the Thanksgiving dinner, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, he's the guy who Pearl pretty much tells him, yeah, shut the hell up with that around the end of, like, the...
She threatens to cut him.
Octolings.
Yeah,
Yes,
she
Jay.
quite literally says, I will cut a fish.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering, Jay, no, I don't know any of these actors who play the militaries.
But anyway...
No. 70s James Bond.
Okay.
Anyway, as somebody who doesn't really mind the Bayformer films until last night, which was the last straw, and heck, I still do legit find the first movie a good movie, I'll say the Bayformer films at least let the Autobots fight the Decepticons. Again, mainly until last night, which just focused more on
But I can
crazy
get that from
robot
Transformers Prime.
guy.
But I can get that from Transformers Prime. So what does Bayformers offer me that I can get from that?
Oh, big
Shia
cinema.
LaBeouf.
You know, I'm really glad that
okay.
the Sonic...
It's on the
I'm really glad
biggest
that the
screen.
Sonic movies, the Mario movie, the Freddy Fazbear movie, and Detective Pikachu did so well. Because it at the very least shows that video game movies are possible for being good. I don't know who the hell gave Anderson the IP for Monster Hunter and Resident Evil.
Capcom.
Take it away
Capcom.
from him.
Capcom and Sony, essentially. And like I said, because the Resident Evil movies made money, of course the thought process was that the same would occur with
I am
this
more
movie.
shocked that despite all of these products attached to Sony, Avi Arad did not touch any of these.
Huh. How about that? That's actually a legit big shock.
A knife tore the webbing. This is correct. The tanks and military copters did nothing to him. Who the hell are you fooling?
Again, the movie, the last part of the movie was doing just fine, but in this very last moment, it feels like somebody, like one of the business would barged in and told, no. We need to have a scene where the militaries are actually fighting the monsters properly this time
I
around.
mean, I don't even mind that, but I do have to agree with Jay that they really make it that the military is ineffective against Rathalos when, like, no. The U.S. military have plenty of good explosives that,
Jova.
by the logic of this own movie,
Uh-oh.
should work too.
Jova, we got conquered in 9 minutes by the Cyclones.
And yeah, and yet, with that same tech, we blew up the Cycloplanet in what is
hell
it?
did you
10
get
minutes?
here?
Oh, he's here
That's the
too.
thing, Jova. Like I told you, that's what happens in the movie. In the book, humans actually hijack Cylon technology to win.
You know what? Let's be glad you're not going against the Fatalis because you'd all be dead in the water.
Yeah, the fatalities, like again, compared to the Fatalis, Rathalos is basically just a bacteria.
Yeah, genuinely an amoeba.
Like,
But here he is,
to give
wrecking
just-
house to the U.S. military. No,
To
he
give-
wouldn't.
To give a general idea, Fatali's, fire breath, makes the one of Raffles just like a mild, very mild halitosis.
I guess the idea of this movie was to pretty much beef up Raphaelos because, hey, he's the series'
It's the
golden
poster. And I get
boy.
the idea, first movie, so you don't want to scale too much because, in case you don't know, Fatalis is essentially the big major Elder Dragon of the early games, and has been every time he has been brought up in other games.
Wait. Thought you might need some help. That implies he knowingly crossed into the world, but how does the world crossing thing even work?
I aim to jump in the passage that was near the tower. We saw.
That thing is still not clear, since I guess it requires
No,
a
it's still
storm.
vague. Oh my god.
That's the joke, I guess. Levity.
You wanted levity? Here is your fucking levity,
Big
bitch.
fast chuckle nuts.
It's just like it has the same kind of that's the same kind of energy that I theorize Kitase had with the orphanage
Wait,
syndrome.
is that?
You'll see, Jay, in a second. I don't remember the name of the species, but I saw it. I think it's from the
You're
third-
sequel baiting with Gormagala.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing here?
Yes.
Okay, how big a deal is Gormagala?
Gormagala, consider the various rankings for the monsters in this game to be its various tiers. Normal monsters are usually given various rankings denoting its typing. Monsters that are stronger than that are noted as Elder Dragons, save Fatalis, who is in a league of all his own. Gormagala is an Elder Dragon.
Like I told you previously, Jova, the beings that are so powerful they can shape the ecosystem around them.
So, in that case, wouldn't it be a good thing that they're sequel baiting us with an Elder Dragon, or is that a bad thing?
So, sequel baiting with an Elder Dragon is a good thing. Sequel baiting with a higher tier Elder Dragon like Gormagala, let's not act like you didn't just barely kill a Rathalos and now you can handle it.
And that's it.
Yeah, no post-credit scene, so Mila Jovovich will not be invited to the Marvel vs. Capcom initiative. Alright. Final thoughts, I suppose, Dweebs.
Well, that was a movie.
It was
Not
certainly had
much.
moving pictures, alright.
It did. Not really much happened in it, to be honest. It was just Miller gets sucked into fantasy world. She fights things with friend. And that's it.
Dwebs, do you really need anything more? That's what Paul would ask you.
Well,
I wouldn't mind so much, but it was boring.
well, I'm sure it was a great adaptation off of that crossover event from Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Monster Hunter
Seriously.
Freedom Unite.
Again,
So-
I'm just glad this guy didn't get the rights to that at least. And I can definitely see him trying to do it, but
Mila
we know already.
Jovovich playing Meryl.
We already know who's doing the MGS movie, so.
Yeah, Mila Jovovich plays
Meryl.
big.
Marrow.
Well, actually, I was gonna say the boss.
Huh.
God.
She would actually have to die, though, so that would be quite a step for
That's the
Cole.
thing, Jova. That's the thing, Jova. Air Action will actually ripple through the rest of the franchise as a result.
Like whoever plays the boss has to be a convincing mother figure, and I'm not really seeing Mila in that role.
What are you talking
Not
about?
really.
She is an actual mother. Her daughter even showed up in the final chapter.
Yeah, but like when it comes to her, like her
I
actually
joke.
acting as like, yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I
Oh,
get
there
what
is a
you
postcard.
mean, though.
Sorry, there is a post-credit scene apparently. My bad. I forgot about this.
They're
Still
in the
fighting
middle of
with
fighting
Gormagala.
and they drag him back to the natural world.
And who you might be.
Eh?
Huh?
Ansem?
Dimion Scholar Chef joins too.
Well, he is still a Palico. Also,
cat people.
I'm sorry, are you denoting a human villain in the world of Monster Hunter? Get the fuck out of here.
Okay. To be fair, we don't know if that's supposed to be a villain, ally, or anything, really. Like, okay, I was gonna ask, is there a character who's
No.
typically in a cloak? Okay, then, so that's pretty much them just doing the Smash reveal, where, of course, there's a hidden character, and in the second movie, they would take off the cloak to show who it is.
basically.
So,
Or Sonic punches them into Minecraft.
Yes.
So yeah, in to sum it up, it's a video game movie that's just honestly really boring, and which is really sad considering the Sonic movie came out earlier that year. A year in which Sonic was actually better than another major franchise at, in this case, a movie.
I think that does just stick into home how much Anderson's popularity, if he had any, had fallen.
But yeah, I'm done.
Shiroi.
I had no expectations. It was a little better than expected. It still wasn't good, and it didn't bother me as much because I have very little knowledge of the series. But yeah, I can definitely see why this would be really annoying to someone who is. Visually, the movie doesn't look like how I imagined it should until the very end, and even then I couldn't look at it for the most part, so I can't have anything here apparently. I don't know. I don't really feel much for the characters, and as far as the music goes, they definitely went the I don't mean to be that person, but they definitely went with the this was definitely a movie score kind of movie score.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
The not Hans Zimmer.
I guess. I think that's it. It didn't drag, I can at least give it that, but that's about as much as I can give it, really.
Pedro.
And yeah, I think that's it.
So, Pedro, tell me, was this the best adaptation of Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Monster Hunter Freedom Unite that it could have been?
So anyway, this movie is a pile of garbage because it's boring. The plot makes no sense. It's just stupid. It's not as bad on that regard as the Resident Evil movies, but I don't consider that a positive. I consider that as an absence of a negative, which I don't think it's an equal to a positive. So I will not give the movie props for that.
Let me put it like this. To quote Mighty Number 9, cleaning up your own mess doesn't make you a visionary.
Why is the credits music trying to replicate the Stranger Things theme?
I don't know.
Stupid, go on, Pedro.
But I'll admit, I was actually being serious about asking if this actually is a good adaptation of that crossover event, since I'm not completely reminiscent of the specifics of it.
Here's the basic gist of it. This movie is stupid. The plot is unintelligible. The fan service based on Jay's reaction is also terrible. The way he handles things.
We'll get to that when we're on my part.
Yeah. So I'm not exactly. The point is, this movie's bad and boring. And to be perfectly honest, I was just mostly just zoning out a lot of times because I was just so utterly bored. Again, this guy at this point just cannot. It's abundantly clear to me that the Paul W.S. Anderson from the 90s died. That guy's not coming back. At this point, we're never going to get a movie on the level of what he did in the past again. At this point, it's just whatever. Like it's like with M. Night Shyamalan, right? Like the M. Night Shyamalan who made The Sixth Sense of Unbreakable doesn't exist anymore. Just accept that fact. And I'm at that point with this guy. Like at this point, I'm accepting that the Paul W.S. Anderson that made Mortal Kombat 95 doesn't exist anymore. So whatever. I'm going to bury you. I'm going to just I cast you out. I have no use for you anymore.
For a moment, I thought you were going to commit to the full Von Karma quote about burying him.
Trevor, you're next.
I had more nice things to say about this movie than I thought I would. That does not make this good. Now, again, unlike Resident Evil, I'm not as big a Monster Hunter fan. I know the basics, I'm familiar with Rathalos and Nergigante, but I do not know the inner lore workings with this. So, I'll first approach this from, again, somebody who's very casual around Monster Hunter. This is still bad. The pacing absolutely blows. Despite the movie not being long, we are stuck on, I guess I might as well call it Spider Island, for 2/3 of that movie. And while I can buy the relationship that Natalie and the Hunter make, I get it, Artemis and the Hunter. It's just, it feels like we're stuck on that point for too long, to the point where a lot of the relatively good stuff, as in, what you're waiting for, like actually seeing other monster species and battling Rathalos, is relegated to the very last third of stuff. Again, a typical Anderson trait. The acting is fine. Like, I don't blame the actors for this. They're doing the best they can with the script, to my knowledge. The action? Okay, there are some good action scenes. The problem is the editing. Way too many cuts, way too much flashing, and while for the most part the monsters look good, sometimes the CGI can be atrocious too. As for the story, it's military gets isekai'd. They come back. I guess Rathalos is the stand-in for Truck-kun. Friends from the other world come back to help too. Still not clear on how the actual transition between worlds works. Rathalos is beaten, and suddenly we got this other dragon. Oh, and there's a cat too.
Yeah, the feline representation in this movie is garbage. Like, they really did him dirty. I'm surprised that we got Meowscular Chef to begin with.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was actually surprised we got the Palico at all. Like, knowing how Anderson tends to work, I would have thought that would have been shoehorned out, or they would have done the occasional Final Fantasy thing of, oh, it's just a cartoony animation or
like
logo. But no, to give them credit, they actually did include that. Which brings me to the issues with the tone. There are moments of levity and even some uplifting moments, but a lot of times this movie is just way too grimdark for its own good, especially since by the end they bring up this big destiny, which I guess implies that the Elder Dragons were behind this, and I guess they're planning to invade our world.
How we're binded them to it, potentially.
And they're planning to invade our world because, I don't know, Earth has better snacks for them or something. It's just such
We're
a
just here for the
mess.
food.
I mean, fair enough. A lot of the monsters in Monster Hunter really just want to eat people.
And, okay, I will give Anderson credit. He showed very good restraint with not making his wife just the instant badass who one-ups everyone, even though she has a bit of kill-stealing still. But at least, it feels like these are actual team efforts as opposed to Alice 2.0, where she could essentially solo everything. So, kudos there. Like I said, still doesn't make the movie good because, again, the direction, the story, and the editing are that bad. Even if I were to consider most of their aspects good, those three aspects sink the movie. The story makes it so that we can't truly appreciate the lore all the well. The direction makes the whole thing feel awkward, and even though I feel like the acting is sufficient, it does feel like the acting isn't as great as it could be. And again, the editing, the gosh darn editing, I don't know if I can say it's up there with Catwoman 2004's infamously terrible editing, but it's in that tier. Holy crap. So yeah, congrats Anderson. You made a movie better than your Resident Evil film series. Problem was, it was still bad. And I'm guessing after being so burnt on the Resident Evil film series, people knew better. And again, due to an unfortunate interpretation of a joke in the movie, even the Chinese market didn't come to bail it out.
Last news that we got are Anderson himself said that there are, a lot of monsters to choose, so he will be willing down. And Mila Jovovich said that he's supposedly already writing something about it, but of course it needs the okay from Sony, and we'll have to see if that happens or not. Keep in mind, Monster Hunter is still possibly Capcom's biggest cash cow to boot, so they're probably not giving up to the idea of having a movie. It's probably just a matter to see if it's a sequel to this or yet another reboot. And I probably think it's gonna be the latter.
Yeah. Like, that's what I was saying. It's like, well, I wouldn't be surprised if we get another Monster Hunter movie. But in regards to the talks of the supposed sequel, I wouldn't be surprised if that goes the same way the last Airbender sequel went. M. Night Shyamalan constantly talked about how it was gonna happen. It's totally gonna happen. I think he kept going on that even into, like, 2016, for Christ's sake.
Don't you see, Joe? We're totally gonna get that Azula that we saw at the end of the previous movie. Of course.
You know, I kind of had to feel sorry for that actress, because she probably expected she was going to get to really show what she had in the sequel. Nope. But, no, this movie, even if I can call it better than the Resident Alice movies, as we jokingly call them, no, this movie still didn't cut the mustard. Yes, the designs looked on point, but the story was still crap. Yes, they got the characters' looks and weapons right, but again, the lore was not fleshed out well enough for it to function. Like, I think a good comparison is like, well, imagine if, per se, the Sonic movie had just been, oh, they got the looks of the characters right, and then there was just basically no story whatsoever. Which, you know,
the better comparison, Giovanni, is what if Sonic 2 was entirely about that godforsaken wedding in Hawaii?
Yeah, it's like, oh, the characters would have looked right, but the story would have sucked. And like, yeah, that's the thing. Just getting the looks right is not alone going to be something to help make the movie the best. That's admittedly part of while I still do like the Mario movie, I don't think it's like the saving god of grace. It is still a sign that video game movies are healing, but I do feel like it needed a better story overall. It's
Also,
like
the Ace Attorney movie has the same
The thing about
problem.
the thing about the Mario movie is that it's a lot of great fan service if you're a fan of the games, but like as demonstrated by the critical reception, if you're not familiar with the games, it's just going to be a bunch of colorful nonsense to you. That's the problem. Like, at least the Sonic movies stand alone as stories.
That's
which is why they got better reviews than the Mario movie did.
That's apparently the general consensus with the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Great movie for fans. Maybe not the best movie for almost anyone else, essentially. But
I got to say that.
But yeah. Let me not veer too far off traffic here. Monster Hunter. It is a bad movie. And I guess I can only recommend it if you're a fan, but going off of Jay's reaction, that might not even be the best case. So, I guess... No, I don't even know if I can call it a good entry point into the franchise either. Like, okay, I guess if you really wanted an adaptation of that crossover event from Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, because yeah, that's how this came to be. Here you go. Just imagine that Big Boss is a woman instead.
Sure.
Next.
Jay, you're up.
Much as I had been ranting and raving about this as a fan, I will start this by the standpoint of a writer first and foremost. Taking away what knowledge you might know about the Monster Hunter movie, about the Monster Hunter series, this movie comes off as a bunch of military action movie schlock paired in with a fantasy world. It doesn't mesh together. It doesn't blend in any way, shape, and form. It's kind of unruly to see every character out here on both sides be unlikable and constantly having to fight one another. At best, you could call this some more Anderson fan service for Jojovic, because that's really the only person that's benefiting out of this. A bunch of the military-grade characters were cut out almost immediately within the movie's run span in the first act. You only get pairing between Artemis and the Hunter. And in the third act of the movie, when you finally get to see some other members from both sides... one half is just jeering and almost acts above Artemis, and the other half don't even get to exist long enough. The only person that ever makes it out are Artemis and the Hunter, and even those two don't really have a good ride of it all. It is bland trash from start to finish. That is the standpoint of a writer. Turning the gears a little bit, I will start with the positives. A lot of the monsters in this movie, both in Small Monster and Large Monster, look immaculate. I have seen rehashes of monsters that take up the mantle of something powerful. Looking at you, Godzilla, specifically Geno variant, and they can really come off as disrespectful to something long-running and standing in the series. So for the design teams and the set team that worked on the props for the weapons, the armor, and other variants, like the ship in the midst of that, my God, you blew yourselves away. And the only regret that I can say is that you blew it on a garbage movie. From a fan standpoint, you brought up that Djordjevic didn't seem all that powerful or just didn't take the grade for it. A lot of these monsters aren't to be taken lightly in the games. Diablos and Rathalos especially not. And even Nursilla, a lot of these require a lot stronger weapons, armors, and a very good experience of what you're working with to fight. She had none of them and still was allowed to more or less dominate the field. She took down the goddamn Rathalos that tore up the U.S. military. Twice over,
Jay,
for that matter.
You must be new because, in case you don't know, she's just that good.
Yeah, she really is
She's
just that good. Okay,
Just that good.
again. See, here's the thing you have to understand, Jay. When a husband and wife, or heck, any married couple duo in Hollywood make a movie, chances are that movie is going to favor the director or writer's significant other to the point
Okay.
where they essentially become a god in that universe.
Allow me to say something.
And you know what? That's
To be fair-
okay.
To be fair, Joe, but let's be fair and say that it worked excellently with the artist. Where
Hold
remember
on.
the main female protagonist of that movie was the director's wife, and that movie's still brilliant. So-
Yeah,
Hold on.
continue, Jay.
You know what? I will jump on this standpoint for a short second. It's okay if you want to make a shameless slog about having your wife look better than the rest of the areas. Even if it doesn't wind up being a good movie, at the very least, you're enjoying yourself over that. Mila didn't get shit out of that. Any other competitor that was supposed to be a part of that movie was obliterated long before she could. The only thing she got was the survivability trait of protagonist privilege.
Question.
And that's just to say on her. Go ahead.
How is it that the one soldier who was legit injured was the one soldier that survived Rathalos' attack when he comes into the real world? Seeing as how she was legit strapped to a medical table and everything, yet somehow she's the one who got out
survives this.
okay.
Her plane, her chopper is the only one that doesn't explode when it hits the ground, miraculously. From a fan standpoint, it's disrespectful in all regards. The Fifth Fleet is probably the most jovial collection of characters you get in a Monster Hunter game at all. None of them, especially not the Admiral, would ever treat her like this. But here they are, cheering and howling like animals. Your main character, which is supposed to be a self-insert of the player, is... I don't even know how to properly describe him. On the one hand, he's clueless and someone who is incapable of handling the monsters in his own world. And on the other hand, he's an asshole know-it-all who acts like he's above Artemis. This is far beyond awful, and I'm not even sure if it puts Djordjevic in a good light. Everything about this just muddies any sort of side. The biomes in Monster Hunter are all fused together between the old world, the new world's players, and Frontier of all things. And it's just not a good movie. The way that they treat the monsters, to brutalize them in a world where you use everything that you can get from them. The disrespect in all regards. As a military cadet, I'm not happy with the way that they treat one another. As a Monster Hunter fan, I'm not happy with the way that they treat one another. Laguna, I know, Levin, I'm not sure if you're watching this, But oh my god, I'm going to drag you through this crap once we're done. The hunting party is going to suffer at the end of the night after this is all over.
I'm guessing an
Oh,
old
no.
fellow Monster Hunter player with you.
A collection of my friends that still play together. Laguna is my mentor. I actually was mulling over whether or not I wanted him to introduce him to you guys to have him as the representative for it. But at a cast of 7, I knew it was just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Ugh, this is. You've introduced me to bad movies throughout the history of working together with you guys, but I was not expecting the one I was expecting to be bad to be the worst of the pot.
Well,
I
okay.
think I need a shower after this is all over.
Let me put it like this,
I'll
Jay.
make it
If
up
you
to
if you had been with us through the last 4 or 5 of the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies, you might have had a better feeling. I guess, that is admittedly part of why we weren't as angry, because we'd been through this song and dance at least 5, because again, I'll give him that the first movie doesn't fall to his usual BS, but like, the last 5 of those movies just get worse and worse and worse, to the point where I would still say this is better than the final chapter. That doesn't make this good, but that's part of why I was probably not as pissed as I normally would have been. Again, that plus me not really being a Monster Hunter fan, but it's like...
Remember, I did watch the first 2 Resident Evil movies and then walked the hell away, because I'm still a big Resident Evil fan as well, and no equals no.
Trust me.
If it got worse than that, ugh.
Trust me, like me and Teal have said, it got worse. It really did. Like, look, like we said, and I'm not exaggerating, pretty much every main Resident Evil character but Claire is confirmed dead. The only one that may have been alive was Chris, and that's only because we didn't truly see him die. Everyone else, Jill, Ada, Leon, even Wesker in one of the most dumbest fashions, was dead by the end of it.
Fair enough. Terrible. Here are my closing thoughts for this. W.S. Anderson, you claimed that you had a history with Monster Hunter, that you were a fan of the series, and knew a bunch about the ecosystem, the life form, and whatnot. What you delivered here is a contradiction to your facts. An utter lie. Someone who boasted the things he knew about and then said it in front of professionals and said, "See, I know what I'm doing," only to get laughed out of the room.
So what
This
you
is an
think, Jay,
embarrassment.
that he's supposed to make an Ace Attorney movie next.
I was gonna make that joke too.
Objection. Don't do something like that. Put the IP back. Maybe change something else that could work. Hey, try Metal Gear Solid movie. It seems more up your alley.
No, leave Metal Gear away from this asshole.
Then it'll be
Please.
Pedro's turn. I'd ask what's the
Alright.
worst he could do with Metal Gear Solid, but I don't want to tempt it.
Maybe it's an adaptation of Metal Gear Acid, I guess.
Fair enough. That plot's crazy enough.
We already have a bad adaptation of Metal Gear Solid. It's called Metal Gear Survive.
Anyway, you're done, Jay?
Yeah, for more or less.
Alright, I'll conclude
Yo.
because my fan thoughts are mostly similar to Jay's. Even if I don't have the same experience with him, I followed the series to, some degree to know at least the basics out of it. And that's even, main series and not just a crossover presentation. So what he said about the right design being in the wrong context is probably the thing that applies the most to this movie. With the knowledge about Paul W.S. Anderson's previous work, you can see an improvement over the presentation happening here. Their designs are more accurate. The editing is definitely improved, and the behavior of our main protagonist is not as cutted as it was. Those are good steps, but that alone cannot sustain the movie on their shoulders, On a theoretical level, if we go through a progression scale, maybe the next movie that he's going to do, this original property that he's going to do about werewolves, hopefully would be considerable good enough, if things improving on this front, but somehow I doubt it. But still, it's still a mess in which good designs are wasted, in which the score is completely awful, in which it wastes the idea of having an isekai story and the US military-industrial complex for no real reason when possibly pandering to the American audience, which is the same as casting a bunch of, actors from Central or Southeast Asia in order to pander to those regions, which backfire spectacularly due to a simple mistake that the actual Chinese company that was co-producing the movie probably should have spotted and told them not to do it. Oops.
Like, even if that wasn't the intent,
It really just showcases the fact that Tencent. It really just confirms also to me the fact that Tencent, in reality, doesn't really give a shit and just wants money. I know that it's an easy thing to. It's like, oh, Captain Obvious, because companies want money, nothing else. No, I can't believe, even in the most greedy companies, I can't believe there is at least one or two souls who genuinely want their work to have, a bit of a meaning other than that. Tencent has never given me that vibe. Every time they show up, they feel like they're just there with a paycheck and a list of demands that need to be respected if you want the money. And this is no exception either. No, this is just... It's still not good, like Pedro said. It's an improvement, but it's not enough. And once again, the faith that I had in Paul has basically evaporated at this point, like in a desert. There you go. There's your path.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rephrase my point. It's about the clear tale that 90s Paul is gone. He doesn't exist
the
anymore.
sad thing is, I
will stop at the Me 2000 because, like I said, I like both Alien vs Predator and
Sure.
2008 to Death Race.
Sure.
And I also did like the Three Musketeers 2011 movie.
But the point still stands. Like, I appreciated the idea of the passion that Paul puts, and the fact that he doesn't fall into the cliches of, similar directors and writers, because stuff like the black guy dying first, having instead, it doesn't happen. Instead, having, a film protagonist that's not pandered towards, and, it's not treated as a big deal, Stuff that should be taken for granted that all of our movies do not do, and Paul still manages to do it. But all of these good intentions and efforts are squandered if your writing and your thought process sucks, and it keeps happening. It happens in the Resident Evil movies, and it's happening in this one too. And I don't understand why. It really feels like Paul needs a co-writer of some kind, someone else to bounce back ideas. He cannot just surround himself by sycophants from these companies like Sony, just constantly telling him yes, raising their thumbs, like that producer for that yokai watch.
Or maybe, Tio, what he needs is just a cold shower to get that boner of his down whenever he's thinking of his wife.
I don't want David Cage near this man in any capacity. Sorry. My point is, it's a good attempt, but not enough. I'm sorry, Paul. I understand your desires and your passions and the fact that you genuinely want to improve and entertain people with a good product, but it's not enough. If you want to continue this, you need someone else to bounce you back. Otherwise, let the Capcom have, a movie reboot of some kind, something that can probably handle things hopefully better. I say hopefully because it sadly did not happen with Welcome to Raccoon City for Resident Evil, so maybe the curse of that video game movie adaptation still lingers in some capacity. We'll see what happens. Only the future will tell us what happens. Same goes for Paul himself, because like I said, his next project is an original property. For all we know, we'll be back here 4 years after this, commentating on Monster Hunter 2, for all we know. Who cares?
Maybe.
Who knows? But that's just instead the beginning for our Christmas movies, because Lips told me the coordinates for the next destination we had to reach, and it's once again a university of some kind, because the sorority of people from Black Christmas is attacked once again, and this time is pretty. Tune in next time for the Blue Mouse production version of Black Christmas. Yeah.
Roy.
Yeah.